Hello everybody, MorbTron here. Today we are taking a look at the Raid Kinetic Auto Rifle from Crown of Sorrow, Gahlran's right hand. Now I've actually been sitting on this weapon for quite a while. I actually got it on day one in the raid, so Tuesday, hopped in, participated in the raid race, quote unquote. I quotation that because I was never planning on even contending, but we did a couple encounters. I got my hands on this auto rifle, and I've been not making a video on it just because I wanted to try to just convince myself maybe, or try to justify giving this weapon a review that's just not flaming it to pieces. And I gotta say, I cannot come up with a good reason not just rip this weapon a new beehole. This is flat out the worst weapon I have ever used in video game history. Now you start out with the worst archetype of a weapon in the entire game, in my opinion, the 360 RPM auto rifle. It is a weapon archetype in the game, in Destiny 2, that is so bad that there's only there's a handful of weapons in this archetype, and the only one that isn't just god-awful is the age-old Bond from The Last Wish, which is an energy auto rifle that is actually stable. And although is boring to use because it shoots so slow, it gets the job done. But this thing just is so inaccurate. It is so just bouncy when you shoot it. I'm going to show some Crucible clips, and then we're going to get into why I think this thing is the worst weapon in the game.
Wage war like a true titan.
Alright, so there you go. You saw some clips of it in the Crucible. I played like a game or two with this weapon in the Crucible, and that's all I could stomach using this hot dumpster fire of a weapon. Now, if we take a look at the recoil that this thing has. Now, keep in mind, I have a counterbalance stock mod in this thing as well, which reduces recoil deviation of the weapon. And recoil deviation is the weapon jumping from left to right while it's going up for its recoil. And I also have one of the best barrel mods, or barrels, in the game for recoil control, Arrowhead Brake. But still, it is a hot pile of garbage. Now, this thing can roll with steady rounds on it, which will help. Would reduce the range a tiny bit over the high cals that I have on it. But to make the weapon usable, you really need to work on its stability. The base stability this weapon has is awful. The handling's not terrible. The reload's it's not great, but it's not bad. The range is really good. But if we take a look at the recoil deviation here, now it's never going to be the same. That's a pretty good grouping right there, but let's do it again. That's 6 bullets again. Let's do 6 more. Okay. I'm not trying to control the recoil at all. That one went mostly to the right. That stayed grouped up. This one was grouped up, if you remember. Those two there were similar. But the weapon's recoil pattern is so unpredictable, even with Arrowhead Brake and the counterbalance mod, that it is very hard to keep the auto rifle on target. And that's even from this distance to just here. And in this distance, there are some shotguns that are lethal. So having an auto rifle that's like, oh boy, here I'm shooting this auto rifle, it's terrible. It's outright bad. and you cannot make use of this weapon's high range stat compared to other auto rifles because of its terrible recoil. Now, if we take a look at the Recluse, a 900 RPM SMG, and granted this is an SMG, so it should be a little bit harder to control, and you see there, the recoil deviation is mostly just straight up and down. And there, it might go a little left and right a little bit, but mostly it is straight up and down. And if I try to control the recoil, it's quite easy. And at this range, this is optimal range for the Recluse. And at this range here, I mean, this weapon's recoil deviation is just bouncing all over. Sometimes RNG is on my side, and sometimes it's not. Now, I'm not going to get rid of this counterbalance mod because I only have one left. I don't want to waste it. But what I will do, I'll turn on full bore, which is going to hurt the stability, and it's going to hurt that recoil reduction that Arrowhead Brake has on it. Now you can see here, there it went mostly left. There it went kind of left and right, mostly vertical. There it went left and right, mostly vertical. It's just a bad weapon. It's a bad weapon, and I cannot recommend to anybody that they use this thing. Now, if you do happen to get, the roll with Arrowhead Brake and steady rounds and a stability masterwork, you might get yourself a weapon that's usable. It might not be, terrible for recoil pattern, but it's still going to be a 360 RPM auto rifle. Now, you can get kills with this thing in the Crucible, but is it going to compete with the meta? Hell no, it's not. Its range, you might think, oh, it's got a really high range. I might be able to, contest some pulse rifles at, closer range. No, you're not gonna. A blast furnace or a good other pulse rifle is going to outclass this weapon 9.9 times out of 10. The person on the other side of the internet would basically have to be asleep or half dead in order for you to just flat out win a duel if the players are of equal skill and start firing at the same time. So I don't see a part of this game where this weapon fits in as a viable option to use. The hot pile of garbage. And even with that masterwork roll, stability magazine, steady rounds, stability masterwork, Arrowhead Brake, it's still going to be a warm pile of garbage. I know it might not be a stinky, on-fire dumpster full of insert stinky items here, but it's still going to be a warm pile of garbage in your hands, and it's just not good. I don't know what else I could say about this weapon being just awful, and having this review take up any more time and having this weapon have any more airtime on the internet would be a waste of internet. So I'm going to cut it off here. If you want to show your support, if you want to... it's not easy to review a bad weapon. People want to see the good weapons. They want to see good gameplay of good weapons. They don't really want to be told that a weapon is terrible. So, not a review that is fun to make, but I think it needs to be addressed. It needs to be known. 360 RPM auto rifles need some loving from Bungie. They don't need to be made the meta, but at least make them not a hot dumpster fire. So, if you want to show your support on the video, on the channel, for me in general, hit that like button. Subscribe if you are new. Weapons got me so worked up, it's so bad that I can't even talk. But do not forget to have a good day, everybody. And I'll catch you all next time. Or garbage. Gahlran's right hand.